Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. I am so incredibly excited you're hanging out with us today because we're opening up something truly special. I like to call it the ultimate forgiveness playbook. If you've ever had a friend, been a friend, or honestly just wanted to be an even better friend, well, you are in the exact right place. We're going to dive into a text that gives us some totally secret, super powerful strategies for keeping our friendships strong, even when things get a little tough. So today's playbook comes directly from a source text known as a devotional. Now you might be wondering, what exactly is that? Well, a devotional is basically just a special reading or a text designed specifically to help us grow our hearts, our minds, and our faith. It's definitely not a boring textbook for school. It's way more like a guide for becoming a better, kinder, and just way more forgiving person, inside and out. But before we get into the actual rules of the playbook, I want you to try and imagine something with me. Have you ever had a friend do something just super annoying to you? Like maybe they accidentally broke your absolute favorite toy, or they said something kind of mean on the playground. And just when you finally look at them and say, hey, it's okay, I forgive you, they go and do the exact same thing the very next week. Ugh, it can be so frustrating, right? You really start to wonder, how many times am I actually supposed to let them off the hook? Part 1, math trick, 70 times 7. Okay, let's dive right into this, because our devotional actually tackles this exact problem with our first big mission. I call it the math of forgiveness. We're going to look at a super famous conversation from the text that involves, a little bit of multiplication. But don't worry, it is literally the most important math trick you will ever learn. The text brings us to a quote from a guy named Peter in the book of Matthew chapter 18. Peter goes up to Jesus and asks a very, very practical question. Lord, how oft shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him? Till 7 times. Now think about that for a second. Forgiving a friend who keeps messing up 7 whole times, that already sounds like a massive amount of work. I mean, let's be real. Most of us would be completely out of patience by time number 3. Peter probably thought he was being super generous by even suggesting 7. But Jesus' answer from the source material, it is totally surprising. He replies, I say not unto thee until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. Wait, no way. He takes Peter's already big number and just explodes it into something massive. It's completely unexpected. Jesus is literally taking the whole idea of keeping a scoreboard with our friends and flipping it completely upside down. And this brilliantly illustrates the math of 70 times 7, which, if you do the math, equals 490. Can you even imagine keeping a tally mark chart on your bedroom wall, counting all the way up to 490 every single time your sibling or your friend does something annoying? By the time you actually get to 490, you've probably completely forgotten what you were even mad about in the first place. And you know what? That is exactly the point the devotional is making. It means we really shouldn't be counting it all. We should essentially just never stop forgiving. Part 2, the lost sheep rescue, bringing friends back. All right, I want you to put on your imagination caps for a second and pretend you are a heroic shepherd on a daring rescue mission. Because sometimes in friendships, people don't just do annoying things, sometimes they drift away entirely. The devotional paints a really clear picture for us here. It tells us that there are people straying from the fold. And here is the really tricky part. When people do drift away, when they get cold or indifferent, or maybe they just feel super embarrassed, they usually won't come running back to you on their own. If a friend pulls away, just sitting around and waiting for them to apologize and run back into your arms, that usually doesn't work. So, what are we supposed to do? Well, the devotional gives us exact instructions for rescuing a lost sheep, broken down into 3 totally actionable steps. Step 1, you must take them where they are. That means you gotta go to them. Step 2, call them to the fold. Basically, invite them back into the friendship. And step 3, leave them not until you see them safely enfolded there. You stick by their side. You don't just say hi and walk away, you make absolutely sure they know they are truly welcome and safe again. Now, being a hero shepherd isn't always a walk in the park. The text addresses this perfectly. It says, you might try to help someone and they might just act grumpy or even try to push you away. But the devotional makes a promise. You shall reap if you faint not. Now, that's just an old-fashioned way of saying, don't get discouraged. If your friend doesn't return to the fold immediately, don't give up on them. Just keep reaching out with kindness. Your patience, it will eventually pay off. Part 3, the first 2 sorry challenge, taking the first step. Now, what's really interesting here is that this introduces the absolute hardest mission in the entire playbook. This is where things get super real, because it requires us to put our pride completely to the side, even when we feel like we are the ones who were wronged. Just imagine your friend has done 100 awful, terrible things to you. But maybe you did one tiny mean thing back to them. Naturally, human nature means we want to point at their giant pile of 100 wrongs and yell, hey, they started it, they're way worse. But the devotional actually asks us to look at this totally differently. Here is the crazy action plan the text lays out. Even if their mistakes weigh a literal ton, and yours is just the weight of a feather, you have to follow these steps. Step 1, find that one wrong thing you did. Step 2, in humility, confess your one wrong first. You actually go to them and apologize for your part, even if it feels totally unfair. And step 3, by taking your one mistake out of the way, you open the door for them to come back. So you're probably thinking, why on earth would we do this? Well, because the text reveals an amazing secret result. It says that taking your one wrong out of the way might be the exact key that unlocks everything. When you humbly apologize for your tiny mistake, it can touch your friend's heart so deeply that it actually leads them to confess their 100 wrongs with weeping. By just being brave enough to say, I'm sorry first, the devotional says a soul could literally be saved. You basically become a real-life peacemaker. Part 4. Pressing together. Staying close. Let's move to the final chapter of our playbook and see how all of this builds into keeping our friendships strong over the long haul. Because once you've forgiven someone 490 times and rescued them like a lost sheep and even apologized first, how do you make sure you actually stay close? So the crucial point is this. The source warns us about wedges. Think of a wedge like a tiny sharp piece of wood that people use to split a giant log right in half. The devotional says we shouldn't let slight differences of opinion become little wedges that get driven between us to separate our hearts. So if you and your friend disagree on what game to play or what color is best, don't let that tiny little wedge split your awesome friendship apart. Instead of letting wedges drive us apart, the text gives us these rapid-fire encouragements to live by every single day. First, we need to press together. We need to see how we can love one another, just as Christ loved us. We must forgive trespasses, which basically means forgive those who cross the line, just like we want to be forgiven when we mess up. And finally, we can be bold in Christ, meaning we can have absolute courage and confidence in the way we love others. And here is the best part. When we follow this playbook, when we press together and actually forgive, the devotional promises a beautiful result. We can take our requests to God with confidence, truly believing that He hears and blesses us. We can stand tall and say, I am His and He is mine. It's a total guarantee of feeling safe, loved, and connected, not just with our friends around us, but spiritually as well. Wow, we've covered a lot of amazing ground in this explainer today. But honestly, none of it matters if we don't put it into practice. So I want to leave you with this big, provocative challenge. Look around your life, your classroom, your neighborhood. Who is one wandering sheep you can safely guide back into the fold? Or who is one friend you need to forgive today, maybe even for the 490th time? Seriously, don't wait. Take your one wrong out of the way, apologize first, and go be the ultimate friend. Thanks so much for joining me to explore this awesome devotional, and I absolutely cannot wait to see how you use this playbook out in the real world.